Hey everyone, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome. And this is a Babson Brothers Surge Bucket Milker Pulsator. I want to share with you something that I have found with these pulsators. This is a C pulsator, and this is the center block. So you can see this is a complete one, fully built out, missing its lid. Now, when I got these, I bought like 3 to 5 milkers from one guy, a couple from another guy, and the one guy had boxes and boxes full of parts, and I just got everything. He gave me everything with it. Well, the trouble is I only needed a couple of milkers, pulsators, and this stuff has been cluttering up my house. So I started rebuilding them, learning everything I could about them, and this year I have been getting into further rebuilds. I have had some with missing parts. So if I can get this in here, there's a metal bar, there's 2 of them in there, that lock on your lid. And this is for a C style lid only. So it's got kind of a rectangle instead of a round insert for the pulsator to sit on the lid. And this is one that I removed. So let's show you how I got to this. So this pulsator will not lock on a lid because it had a broken crossbar inside of that lid. Now this is one that I removed from a spare pulsator that was a P pulsator that had damaged air tubes. Now the air tubes can be repaired with brazing, but that's not going to be a full guarantee. It was better for me to use that pulsator for parts to repair a more desirable C pulsator that was in better condition. So I had actually already cleaned this, got it all ready, and realized it had a broken piece in there. Now these pieces can be worn. Sometimes it's just a matter of turning it. So if you can see just slightly, there's a little bit of a straight edge. And that's from rubbing and twisting that pulsator on and off for years. Now these things were built in the 1940s, 50s, even older than that. But these C pulsators, very heavy in use for a long time, and they were still in production, I believe it said, in the 80s. And a lot of local small farmers were doing this before they went to the hundreds of cows, because it was very convenient to hang that pulsator and bucket milker right on the cow and do your small herd of dairy. So here you can see there's little holes. There's another one over here, and it's real hard to see with the machining, but I actually used a punch and punched out the broken piece because the center part was missing, but it was still here. And here, I still have to punch this side out, and then I can insert this new piece. Now, I had almost thought if I just shove this through, it's gonna sit there. Well, it almost did. I gave it one more punch to give it a full connection, and the broken piece that was remaining just slipped down in there. So real easy. I just put this in a vise, used some punches, and drove it out. Sometimes these little pieces can be broken and missing, and that can be a problem because your little paper gasket that mounts on the side mounts on these holes. And they used to have kits that had these little pins separately. Now I've actually tried to pull these out in the past with no luck. You can actually get round stock from a machine shop, small places. If you look around, you can find that round stock. I couldn't tell you the size of it. It's quite small. However, I have had some of these missing in the past, and after rebuilding it, it still tested out well. It just may not hold that gasket in place. So if you're interested in a complete teardown of how to clean and rebuild this, I have a separate video for that with a C pulsator and an S pulsator. Check that homesteading playlist and you can come across that. I have been rebuilding the entire buckets, the pulsators, and selling them on our Etsy shop. So if you need any of these parts already done for you, or if you need additional things or an extra pulsator, go over to that Etsy link at the top of the My Channel page and you can get anything from there that you might need. So these are punches, and I can choose which size I need. However, like my skinny one that fits the hole, It's very old and it's a little bit bent, so I'm kind of taking it easy on that. This middle one here is really good for getting it through, and this pointy one is a little heavier duty, is really great for getting it started because it's pointy like a pencil. But I found the best thing for me to get it all the way through the depth of the block is an Allen wrench, because I can reach right through and knock that out. When I rebuild these, I always do a bench test for them on my vacuum setup just to make sure that they're operating. Basically, if they're moving by hand, there's a pretty good bet that you have done your rebuild correctly. You just want to make sure that it's going to operate under vacuum pressure. So right here, we're just going to start tapping on that and drive it down into the block, and it's going to fall out that center hole. Now I can't do this one-handed, so I'm going to have to pause the camera. So you can see with just about 3 taps, I was able to knock that deep enough down in there. Now this one seems a little bit large size, and I don't want to get that stuck in there and then break it off. So you can switch to this to give it a good tap. You just got to make sure, especially with this one being so fine. These are sold in sets, so if I break one, husband's not going to be too happy. Now it feels like it just pushed through all on its own, and it did. So you can see it just fell down in that hole there. So I've already taken one out of that P pulsator. So there's what's left of that little piece. And that's what we're actually putting back in. So like I said, this was out of the P pulsator. You can get round stock from a machine shop. Look around. It can be found. Again, I don't know the size. You just run that through like a drill gauge, and it'll tell you what you need. And I bet you that's about 1.5 inches. Now, when you put this into a vise, make sure that you don't pinch this nut. So I've got that sticking out freely. Get rid of that broken piece, and we're just going to tap this into place. All right, so you can see I just put that in flush. So we're going to take this out and check the other side. And it looks real good on that side too. So now we can go ahead. This has already been polished up. You see I got 2 crossbars in there now. And now it will lock on the tab on the top of the pulsator lid. So now I can go through and switch back to a build. So, as with any shop, I'm out here working in what is my husband's area. I work out here just as much as he does. And I try to keep all my parts and pieces together in a plastic container, just so that I don't lose them. Be aware that these little screws are special little screws and hard to get. So if you lose them, you may not be rebuilding your pulsator. I'm actually in some search of some of this type of screw. If you know what they are, comment down below. I need to actually go to a bolt specialty store. It's called Midwest Bolt and Fasteners, I believe. Fastenal might have them, and see if they might have some, because I probably have about 3 pulsators missing some screws. Now, when you get a rebuild kit, you're getting new leathers. These little funny discs are not in the rebuild kit, and basically it's something that they've eliminated. I think they just found that it wasn't doing anything for it. It sits inside of here. So the sliders, here's a complete slider that's in the middle, consists of that little leather, the little star round piece, and another copper round piece on the end. Sometimes they're nickel, and then the screw that holds them together. And there's 2 of these in each pulsator. There's 2 slides in each pulsator, and this is what a C pulsator looks like on one side. This is a S pulsator, so it's got 2 of those. And this is the other end of a C pulsator. And they just go right over these holes on top to alternate the air. So I actually run these through the bench grinder on a wire wheel, and I clean up the block. Now, a lot of these blocks are brass. Some of them are, I believe, nickel or zinc with a brass overlay. You want to be careful of these ends. The last one I was cleaning up was that P pulsator. And I noticed that it was a little bit out of place. That looks funny, see? So I went to go move it on the end, and I guess it was this one right here. And if you look right down in there, that's got a crack right down at the stem where it comes out of the block. Now I have an old maze kit, and it actually came with some of these so that you can replace that. But yeah, I'm not real big on my welding, soldering, or anything like that skills, and that's something I have to pass on to my husband. He's currently doing hay, and this is a project I do on my own. So this is a quite dirty S block. I'm going to run this through the whole grinder and get it clean. Blow air through it. You take the kit that comes with pipe cleaners through all the holes, thread it through, get it as clean as you can. Make sure on an S it just has a single little pin down there. That locks it on a lid on an S. Without that, it's not going to lock. So it's maybe 1/3 of the length of the other size. Again, just some basic round stock. And if you don't have that, you can fix it up. So I just always check it over, make sure it's clean. The end caps, I always make sure that any rust, growth is out of there. You can run steel wool through there and clean it up really good. Plumber's abrasive. Here's a speed screw. I always polish that up and clean it. Some of them came with a spring. Most of them don't have that on it. And it also consists of a new gasket that needs to be replaced on there. These are the leathers, like I said before. And there should be a pin in here, which is just basically like a watch band sort of pin for your lid. So we're gonna take all this through the grinder and get it all polished up.